health and a little wealth and a lot of love.
So the next topic is difficulty navigating the American healthcare system.
Which is something that I think everyone has probably experienced or been a part of. It's not just with these weight loss medications. And I don't think we really learn how to use insurance or what exactly we're supposed to know whenever we go into doctor's visits. I mean, personally, me, before I became a doctor, I didn't really have a knowledge base about what the process was with insurance. And I think when you see things on the back end, when you're working in healthcare and you know how things work, it's much easier, but it takes away from the autonomy, takes the autonomy away from the patient if you don't have an understanding about how insurance works and the kind of the process. Because honestly, the anger is typically misplaced, because it's really the insurance company that is causing the barrier and keeping you from getting your medication. But I think a lot of times the anger is placed on the doctor's office or the healthcare providers.
What a great facade, though, in my opinion. And guys, if you have not seen our first episode, Where Have All the Good Doctors Gone? This is probably the sole reason why Emily quit traditional medicine.
Well, really, it's so true that insurance companies dictate the way that we practice
100%.
medicine, because if they're not going to cover a medication to be used, it doesn't matter if it's the best medication on the market. If your patient can't get it, if they can't afford it, then you're basically at the mercy of the insurance company. You have to use what they can afford.
Right.
And sometimes that ties your hands. You don't really know what else you can do. And not only that, there's a potential that they will cover it, but you have to jump through hoops to get the
100%.
medication covered.
And I have to say, out of everything on that episode, 13 times, I really think they nailed the doctor, the insurance, the specialist, the network, your primary care doctor, and the paperwork and all this. And then it's funny because the insurance guy, how they had like a little spinning around phone, which we didn't talk about, and then a typewriter because it was so slow.
It was like the sloth from Zootopia.
Exactly.
At the TV.
Exactly what it was like.
Yes.
And so I actually thought they did a really good job of hitting that home.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I think it's so sad. It's funny because it's true, but a lot of times, and even I think they sent him to get an obesity medicine covered, they sent him to get an x-ray or something, which was completely like, why would you? But it's so true that sometimes you have to do unnecessary things first in order to get it covered. Or with certain medication classes, they'll say, we're only going to cover this new medication if they've tried X, Y, and Z first.
Right.
So let's try this medication that we know causes a bunch of side effects.
Right.
And you have to give it a good, college try, be on it for 3 months or be on it for 30 days before we can say that it didn't work or before we can say that you had side effects. I mean, it's crazy.
And the thing is, you can cut through this, right? And so how I cut through it, because guys, I was, like I told you, I gained 65 pounds when I was in COVID. I wasn't proud of that. I was like 315 in my highest. And I lost like 40 pounds, still have a bunch more to go. I was not losing weight. And I did, I would think, what was it? Zepbound, Wegovy?
The Saxenda was...
Saxenda, but I didn't do it for vanity purposes. I did it because I was doing everything right, going to the gym, eating right, for the most part. I had like one cheat meal a week, which is, I used to do a cheat day, and I went through a BC medicine specialist. I had this one navigate that process like it was a damn project, like following up and calling and doing all this stuff. You can get it if it's for that purpose, and we do give...
But you can't always. I mean, you're speaking from the perspective of actually having decent insurance that actually covered Zepbound, which was the second time around. But it was easier to get the Saxenda initially, and this was, I guess, a couple of years ago. And then more recently, trying to find Zepbound, it wasn't just getting the doctor to write the prescription and getting them to do the prior authorization to get the medication covered. At that point, too, it was finding it in local pharmacies.
Yeah.
And so that just adds a whole nother layer to the issue with these medications. But it's so true that they basically kind of pin you. It's like you're a pinball going back and forth between specialists and primary care and having to get certain medications first and then still you might not get it covered. And
Right.
and the formularies change from one year to the next.
does.
And so even
Almost
if they
month to month.
yeah, even if they cover it 1 year and you do everything right and you finally get the medication, they can just drop it within a couple months
That's right.
and you're SOL again.
And that's what happened with the women with the crop tops, right? Which honestly, in those examples were actually, I think, valid, because they're doing it for superficial vanity purposes. And so there's a quote on the show that I just want to read aloud here. We don't pay for obesity because we don't believe it is a disease.
That's what the insurance
Right.
company said.
Your reaction to that?
I think we're seeing that in reality. I think, and they aren't necessarily saying those words.
Yeah. I'm sorry. When I'm asking that question to you, I'm like, is obesity a disease?
Yes, I would say it is, and I think it's very complex. I don't think it's just the BMI being over 30 making it a disease. I think metabolic syndrome in general is definitely a disease, and
Right.
it's one of these things where it's hard to get out of that cycle, because once you have a certain amount of adipose tissue, that the fat cells are metabolically active and inflammatory, and that causes inflammation in the body that makes it harder for you to lose weight. And it's just, I feel like it's this feed forward cycle that some people just can't get out of with just lifestyle. I think if you have the means and you have a personal chef and a home gym and you don't have to work for a living, I mean, yes, I'm sure that you could just do lifestyle and get there, but unfortunately, that's not a situation that a lot of people live in.
That's true. What would you say to people, like, I have to be devil's advocate here, this is my Andrew Tate army here. What would you say to people like that who would say, no, it's just a willpower issue?
I don't think it is a willpower issue, because I think that especially when you're eating an ultra processed diet,
Bingo.
it's this addictive, this food addiction a lot of times.
Bingo.
It's not even just the diet and exercise part of. I think a lot of people, they are doing that, and they are being consistent with eating a healthier diet and exercising, but they're to the point, they might be in their 40s or 50s or 60s, and they just can't do enough to offset the weight.
Right.
And if it's coming off slowly, it makes it even harder to stay motivated and to continue those lifestyle changes, because you're just not seeing things budge
Right.
for a while.
Which honestly, like, just playing devil's advocate again, I could see the frustration though, right? Because obesity costs a lot of money for the healthcare system. Let's just be honest, and we don't treat it head on, which I think is such bullshit in my opinion. But I do think that if you are looking at someone who is not trying, and they don't have the willpower to eat healthy or to exercise, and they work from home, they don't practice anything within that lifestyle, right? Whether it's an addiction or whatever, they eat macaroni and cheese for dinner or whatever, like in that example, I think the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over, expecting different results and not seeking help, which some people may not have the option of seeking help. Some people are just subject to their environment. I'm not talking about the people with the environment, right? I'm not talking about the people who can't afford alternatives. I'm talking about people who can make those changes. And what would you say to them? Those kind of people.
I mean, I think
I kind of agree with Andrew Tate Army a little bit on that one, but I don't think one size fits all.
Well, I think that you have to want to change your life and change yourself to be successful. And that just goes to show with these medications, it shouldn't be a magic bullet. It shouldn't be,
Right.
You shouldn't just be started on the medication because it's going to help you lose weight and it's going to solve all your problems. I mean, it's supposed to be used as a tool where you're also exercising, and you should be doing weight training and eating a high protein diet
Everybody.
while you're on these medications, especially because you don't
Right.
want to lose your healthy weight. You don't want
Right.
to lose your muscle
Like muscle wasting.
by being on these medications, or just weight loss in general. You want to do it in a healthy way. And so, yes, I think that you should be doing lifestyle changes along with the medication. But I think sometimes it's hard it can be overwhelming. Where do you get started? Or for the people who are in that situation because they've tried diet after diet and they've tried, time after time, and they maybe lose the weight initially and they can't keep it off. They gain it all back plus some,
Right.
and they get frustrated because they're like, well, I don't have the motivation to continue to eat like this forever.
Right.
Because usually they have success with really restrictive diets,
Right.
or aggressively exercising, and they think that that's what lifestyle is going to be like. They're going to have to do that the rest of their lives
That's
to
right.
be able to. And so I think part of it is just not knowing the healthy way to do it.
Right. Or yeah, that's true. That's true. And usually they focus on restrictive diet. So no, I wanted your perspective on that because I have a very specific perspective. Because listen, I want to eat what I want and not go to the gym and not exercise and do things I was doing in my teens and my 20s. I will say this before I close that topic out, because I'm probably gonna get some hate mail on that, especially when you mentioned Andrew Tate. I would say that there's people that we know in our network, right? One person can eat the same exact thing, have the same lifestyle, have the same exercise habits. This person is skinny and this person is overweight. This person is fat. That is a challenge. That does exist. And for those people, I do feel like that's a challenge, right? And it's not always necessarily lifestyle. It could be genetics. It could be, it's more of a comprehensive issue.
With a little health and a little wealth and a lot of love. That's the life that we live. Suits and scrubs.